27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Her brain is leaking.
Apparently last night she passed away. How did Emma?
On May 11th, 2022, Anna Moriah Wilson arrived in Austin, Texas. She was preparing for one of the biggest races of her career, but within 24 hours, she would be found brutally murdered inside her friend's apartment. At approximately 10 p.m. on May 11th, 2022, KAITLIN Cash arrived back at her apartment after having dinner with friends. When she stepped inside, she noticed something was wrong. The door was unlocked.
Ambulance, what's the address of the emergency?
It's 1708 Maple Avenue.
As she moved through the apartment, she found her best friend, Anna Moriah Wilson, lying unresponsive on the bathroom floor. Blood was pooling beneath her.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere. And I don't know what happened.
KAITLIN immediately dialed 911. The dispatcher instructed her to check for a pulse and attempt CPR. She counted aloud as she performed chest compressions, but Moriah didn't respond.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Good.
7, 8.
Keep going.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
That's good, KAITLIN. Keep that up.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Her brain is leaking.
Austin police!
Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
Minutes later, Austin police officers arrived at the scene. Their body-worn cameras captured them entering the apartment and assessing the situation. When officers reached the bathroom, they found Moriah lying face up. She had 3 visible gunshot wounds, 2 to the head and 1 to the chest. As officers secured the crime scene, forensic investigators noted several key details. 3 9mm JAG bullet casings were found on the bathroom floor. Blood spatter patterns suggested Moriah had been shot at close range. There were no signs of forced entry. Whoever had entered had not broken in. Nothing had been stolen. Moriah's wallet, phone, and valuables remained untouched. One unusual clue was discovered outside the apartment. Moriah's specialized S-Works racing bike had been tossed into a bamboo thicket 68 feet south of KAITLIN Cash's residence, as if someone had tried to hide it. Investigators canvassed the neighborhood. When the investigators went to interview neighbors, they realized a nearby camera recorded a chilling sequence of sounds. A loud scream, 3 gunshots in quick succession. Then, silence. The first questions investigators asked themselves were, who would want Moriah dead? Who was the last person to see her alive? One name immediately surfaced from the mouth of KAITLIN Cash, the best friend of Moriah, COLIN Strickland.
Live here. Yeah, I knew she was with her friend Colin. Colin Strickland. Colin Strickland? Strickland, yeah.
With all these elements, the investigators realized that Moriah Wilson's murder wasn't random. Investigators quickly realized that this was a targeted attack. But before discovering who might have wanted her dead, it's important to understand who Moriah was. Anna Moriah Wilson was a rising star in the world of gravel racing. At just 25 years old, she had already established herself as one of the most dominant athletes in the sport. Born on May 18, 1996, in Littleton, New Hampshire, she grew up in East Burke, Vermont, a small town in the Northeast Kingdom region. She was the daughter of Eric and Karen Wilson. Her father, Eric Wilson, was a former professional skier, racing for the U.S. ski team in the 1970s before becoming a coach at Burke Mountain Academy, an elite training ground for future Olympians. Her mother, Karen Wilson, was a dedicated teacher and community member. Moriah had one sibling, her younger brother, Matthew Wilson, who, like her, excelled in sports. Growing up in Vermont, Moriah was surrounded by the outdoors. The Kingdom Trails, a world-renowned mountain biking network, ran through her hometown, and Burke Mountain Resort was just minutes away. Her parents encouraged her active lifestyle, and from a young age, she was involved in multiple sports. She first found her passion in alpine skiing, following in her father's footsteps. Training at Burke Mountain Academy, Moriah quickly became one of the top junior ski racers in the country. She was competitive, disciplined, and determined, qualities that set her apart. But skiing was not her only love. Her parents were avid mountain bikers, and by the time she was 7 years old, she was already riding the Kingdom Trails with ease. At Burke Mountain Academy, Moriah excelled in skiing, cycling, and soccer, earning letters in all three sports. After graduating in 2014, Moriah took a gap year to pursue her dream of making the U.S. ski team. However, a devastating setback changed everything. She suffered her second ACL tear. The injury forced her to rethink her future in professional skiing. As part of her rehabilitation, she turned to cycling, at first just to stay in shape, but it quickly became her new passion. Unlike skiing, it didn't put stress on her knees, and she found herself falling in love with the sport. She enrolled at Dartmouth College in 2015, where she studied engineering while competing as an NCAA Division I ski racer. However, as time went on, she focused more on cycling. By the time she graduated in 2019, she faced a crossroads. She had a prestigious degree and an opportunity to work in the corporate world, but her love for cycling was growing stronger. She took a job as a demand planner at Specialized, a top cycling company, allowing her to stay close to the sport while earning a stable income. Moriah's entry into professional cycling was almost immediate. Her VO2 max, a measure of endurance capacity, was off the charts, and her natural strength, mental toughness, and ability to suffer through long races made her an ideal fit for gravel racing, a grueling discipline that blends road cycling and off-road endurance racing. Gravel racing was still a growing sport, and Moriah saw an opportunity to dominate. She started entering races, and soon her name was everywhere. Her breakout moment came in 2021 at Big Sugar Gravel, a 103-mile race in Bentonville, Arkansas. Competing against some of the best riders in the world, Moriah won the women's category and placed 12th overall, finishing just minutes behind the top men. This victory put her on the map, and from that moment, she became one of the strongest competitors in gravel racing. Key wins and achievements: 2021 Rebecca's Private Idaho, 2nd place, despite a mechanical issue. 2021 Big Sugar Gravel, winner, first major victory. 2022 Sea Otter Classic Fuego 80K, winner, defeated 30 of the top gravel racers in the U.S. 2022 Belgian Waffle Ride, winner, won by an unprecedented 25 minutes. By early 2022, Moriah was on the verge of becoming the best gravel racer in the world. She had even left her full-time job at Specialized to pursue cycling professionally. Her next big goal was Gravel Locos, a 155-mile race in Hico, Texas, an event that she was heavily favored to win. Moriah was more than just an athlete. She was known for being humble, kind, and fiercely determined. Despite her success, she remained down to earth. She had big dreams beyond just winning races. Moriah wanted to make cycling more inclusive, especially for women. She wanted to inspire new riders to break into the sport. She was smart, talented, and driven, with an entire future ahead of her. On May 10, 2022, Moriah flew to Austin, Texas, to stay with her friend, KAITLIN Cash, before heading to Hico for the race. She was focused on her training, but also took the opportunity to catch up with friends, including fellow cyclist COLIN, STRICKLAND, with whom she had maintained a complicated friendship. She had no idea that within 24 hours of arriving in Austin, she would be dead. Colin Strickland was a well-known gravel racer, respected for his skill and determination. He built his career by doing things his own way, avoiding the traditional pro cycling path and instead winning races on his terms. Born in Texas in 1986, Colin grew up in the countryside outside Austin. He loved machines, adventure, and pushing himself. He started as a fixed-gear racer, competing in underground races where speed and risk were everything. Over time, he moved into gravel racing, a newer sport that mixed road cycling with long off-road races. In 2019, Colin became famous after winning Unbound Gravel 200, one of the toughest gravel races in the world. He beat top racers, including Tour de France competitors, and sponsors quickly took notice. Soon, he had deals with Red Bull, Rafa, Specialized, and Envy, making him one of the biggest names in the sport. Colin was also known for his laid-back lifestyle. He lived in a tiny house, traveled with a Spartan trailer, and enjoyed being independent. But while he seemed calm on the surface, his relationships were much more complicated. Colin had a charming personality and was popular with women. Friends described him as someone who could easily attract attention. But in relationships, he often kept things casual, avoiding serious commitment. This caused problems in his relationship with KAITLIN Armstrong. Colin met KAITLIN Armstrong in 2019, shortly after he won Unbound Gravel. KAITLIN was a former finance worker turned yoga instructor, and she was drawn to Colin's free-spirited way of life. Their relationship got serious quickly. They moved in together, and KAITLIN even became involved in Colin's cycling business, helping him manage things. But despite this, their relationship was rocky. Colin didn't like feeling tied down, and over time, KAITLIN became more insecure about their future. She wanted commitment, while Colin wasn't sure what he wanted. By 2021, their problems were clear to everyone around them. In October 2021, Colin broke up with KAITLIN after months of uncertainty. During this time, he met Moriah Wilson at a race in Idaho. Moriah was a rising star in cycling. She was younger, focused, and incredibly talented. She and Colin quickly became close, and for about a week, their relationship turned romantic. But then, Colin decided to get back together with KAITLIN. Even though his romance with Moriah was short-lived, they stayed in contact. By early 2022, Colin and KAITLIN were living together again, but their relationship was still unstable. At the same time, Colin kept talking to Moriah. He said they were just friends, but he also hid her messages from KAITLIN, which made things worse. In January 2022, Moriah saw Colin and his girlfriend KAITLIN at an event and texted this to Colin. "Hey, so, I would like to talk to you at some point. I had originally texted you on Friday, but appears my texts aren't going through again. This weekend was strange for me, and I just want to know what's going on. If you just want to be friends, seems to be the case, then that's cool. But I'd like to talk about it because honestly, my mind has been going circles, and I don't know what to think." Colin will then reply, "Hey Mo, I feel very shitty for putting you in a position where you don't feel comfortable." KAITLIN came along to go to a meeting about the Sprinter/Spartan Hotel project. In hindsight, this was not a good idea. KAITLIN found out and became fixated on Moriah. She even called Moriah directly and told her to stay away from Colin. Moriah, uncomfortable with the situation, blocked KAITLIN's number. But Colin kept lying. On May 11th, 2022, just hours before Moriah was killed, he changed her name in his phone to hide their messages. KAITLIN, however, was already watching. Moriah Wilson woke up early in KAITLIN Cash's apartment in East Austin. She was just a few days away from competing. Training was a critical part of her routine, and she set out on a solo ride, covering several miles on the outskirts of the city. Meanwhile, Colin Strickland and KAITLIN Armstrong also started their day with a ride. The couple frequently trained together, though their sessions were not always harmonious. KAITLIN had taken up cycling after meeting Colin, and while she had improved significantly, She wasn't on his level. That morning, Colin rode with another cyclist, Bob Koplos, and KAITLIN joined them. However, during the ride, she fell behind. Colin told Bob not to wait for KAITLIN, saying she wouldn't expect them to. He and Bob continued at their usual pace, leaving KAITLIN to finish her ride alone. After his morning ride, Colin had a dentist appointment. He then messaged Moriah, who had arrived in Austin the day before, to arrange a meetup. The two planned to go for a swim at Deep Eddy Pool, one of the city's most famous spring-fed swimming spots. Here's the text message Colin sent to Moriah. "Want to go swimming? Maybe swimming and a beverage?" Moriah then answered positively with a selfie of herself on her bike finishing her solo morning ride. Around 6 p.m., Colin picked Moriah up on his BMW motorcycle. The pair headed to the pool where they swam and later walked to Pool Burger, a nearby restaurant and bar where they had burgers and cocktails. At some point during their time together, Colin's phone rang. It was KAITLIN Armstrong. He didn't answer. Later, Colin would admit that he had changed Moriah's name in his phone to Christine, likely to avoid arguments with KAITLIN. Around 8:30 p.m., Colin and Moriah left Pool Burger. He drove her back to KAITLIN Cash's apartment on Maple Avenue, where she was staying while in Austin. They arrived at approximately 8:36 p.m. He then simultaneously sent this message to his girlfriend, KAITLIN. "Hey, are you out? Went to drop some flowers for Allison at her son's house up north and my phone died. Heading home unless you have another food suggestion." Moriah entered the apartment using a unique keypad code, which sent a notification to KAITLIN's phone, confirming the door had been unlocked by Moriah. Colin left just a minute later. He rode up the alleyway, heading home. A minute after Colin left, a black Jeep Grand Cherokee was captured on surveillance footage circling the neighborhood. The vehicle had chrome trim around the windows, a luggage rack on top, and a bike rack attached to the back. Features identical to KAITLIN Armstrong's Jeep. Neighbors later reported seeing the vehicle slowly driving through the area, seemingly scouting the location. Around 9:15 p.m., neighbors heard a sudden scream, followed immediately by 3 gunshots. At approximately 9:20 p.m., KAITLIN Armstrong arrived back at the home she shared with Colin. Her behavior gave no indication that anything unusual had happened. She walked toward Colin, initiating rough sex. According to Colin, her behavior was rough and dominating, unlike their usual intimacy. At the time, he didn't think much of it, but later, after Moriah's murder, he found it disturbing. At 9:55 p.m., KAITLIN Cash returned home after an evening out. She immediately noticed that the front door was unlocked, which was unusual. Inside, nothing seemed out of place until she walked toward the bathroom. There, on the tiled floor, was Moriah Wilson's body. Blood pooled around her, and there were bullet casings near her head.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere. And I don't know what happened. I can't tell what happened.
Okay, I'll tell you what to do. I just need to gather a little bit more information. What's your name?
My name is KAITLIN.
KAITLIN, are you with her now?
Yes, I'm with her now.
How old is she?
She's 26.
Okay. Is she awake?
She's not awake. There's blood all over her face
Caitlin?
and all on the back of her head.
Is she breathing?
No. She's not
Okay.
breathing.
Caitlin called 911 at 9:56 p.m., desperately tried to perform CPR while on the phone with emergency services. She counted out loud, but it was too late. Within minutes, Austin police officers arrived. Paramedics confirmed what was already evident. Moriah Wilson was dead. After they confirmed Mo's death at 10:10 p.m., officers examined the scene and quickly determined that the attack had been deliberate. The evidence at the scene, combined with security footage, would soon lead them to their prime suspect, KAITLIN Armstrong. Shortly after Moriah Wilson's murder, investigators brought COLIN STRICKLAND in for questioning. He appeared shocked when officers informed him that Moriah had been killed. COLIN confirmed that he had spent part of the evening with Moriah, taking her swimming and then having dinner with her before dropping her off at Kaitlin Cash's apartment. However, when police examined his phone records, they noticed something suspicious. COLIN had changed Moriah's name in his phone to Christine Alaska, a move he later admitted was an attempt to prevent arguments with Kaitlin Armstrong. COLIN also confirmed that he had purchased 2 guns, a Springfield Armory 9mm for himself and a 9mm Sig Sauer P 365 handgun in January 2022, which he later gave to Kaitlin Armstrong as a gift. Investigators found this significant, as forensic evidence would later suggest that the same model gun was used in Moriah's murder. On May 12, 2022, the day after Moriah's murder, detectives interviewed Kaitlin Armstrong for the first time. Armstrong initially appeared calm, but as detectives pressed her with questions, she became visibly uncomfortable.
But again, that limits us to where we only have one side of the story. And your vehicle was seen next to her house, and we needed to talk about that, okay? Because when he's saying this stuff and then your vehicle is seen, like, I want to be able to explain, okay, there's a logical explanation for this. Maybe you were upset and you were just in the area or something. Like, I don't know, because I don't have your story. Does that make sense? Because I want to be able to explain that. Okay, when I can't explain that and all I see is that your vehicle's over there, that kind of makes it look not too good, right? Okay, and then when we're talking to Colin and we're hearing like, yeah, there was some jealousy stuff going on, like, that doesn't sound very good. And so that's why I really want to get your side of the story, because maybe there's a lot more going on.
I would like to leave, if I'm free to leave.
Okay. Okay. Is there any explanation as far as why the vehicle would be over there?
I would like to leave if I'm free to leave.
Okay.
When asked whether she was aware that Colin had spent time with Moriah on the night of the murder, Kaitlin denied knowing anything about it. She claimed that she had no idea Colin was with Moriah at Deep Eddy Pool, or that he had been at her apartment later that evening. However, detectives found her behavior suspicious. She avoided eye contact, repeatedly crossed her arms, and gave short, defensive answers, and asked to leave. Shortly after this interrogation, Kaitlin Armstrong was released from custody due to a clerical error related to an unrelated outstanding warrant for a theft charge. She immediately disappeared, leading police to suspect she might be on the run. Investigators collected crucial forensic evidence from the crime scene. 3 spent bullet casings, marked 9mm JAG, were recovered near Moriah's body. A ballistics analysis confirmed that these casings matched the Sig Sauer P 365 that Colin had purchased and given to Kaitlin. This provided strong physical evidence linking Armstrong to the murder weapon. Another key piece of evidence came from GPS data retrieved from Kaitlin's black Jeep Cherokee. Investigators found that, at 8:37 p.m., Kaitlin's Jeep was recorded near Kaitlin Cash's apartment, just minutes after Colin dropped off Moriah. The Jeep remained in the area for approximately 40 minutes, leaving shortly after the time of the murder at 9:15 p.m. Just 2 days after Moriah Wilson's murder, KAITLIN Armstrong took steps to disappear. On May 13, 2022, she drove her black 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee to a CarMax dealership in South Austin. Surveillance footage from the dealership shows her finalizing the sale of the vehicle for $12,200. This was a critical move. Investigators would later find that her Jeep had been seen near Moriah's apartment around the time of the murder. Selling it allowed her to eliminate a key piece of evidence and secure cash for her escape. On May 14, 2022, Armstrong boarded a Southwest Airlines flight from Austin to Houston Hobby Airport. From there, she took a connecting flight to LaGuardia Airport in New York City. At this point, Armstrong was not yet publicly named as a suspect, but authorities were beginning to track her movements. On May 18, 2022, just 1 day after police issued a warrant for her arrest, Armstrong used her sister's passport to book an international flight from Newark Liberty International Airport to San Jose, Costa Rica. She had successfully fled the United States before law enforcement could detain her. In Costa Rica, Armstrong adopted a new identity, going by the alias Ari Tattoo. Witnesses later reported that she changed her hairstyle, dyed her hair brown, and even underwent plastic surgery in an attempt to alter her appearance. On June 23, 2022, she visited AVA Surgical Center in San Jose, Costa Rica, where she underwent a $6,350 nose job. A receipt found during her arrest confirmed the procedure, which she told people was necessary due to a surfing accident, a fabricated story designed to deflect suspicion. Armstrong traveled to the Nicoya Peninsula, a popular expat and tourist area known for yoga retreats and surf communities. She checked into Don John's Surf and Yoga Hostel in Santa Teresa, where she worked as a yoga instructor and kept a low profile. Locals later reported that Armstrong blended in easily, appearing as a free-spirited traveler. Some people noticed that she was guarded about her past, but no one suspected she was one of the most wanted fugitives in the U.S. On June 29, 2022, after a 43-day international manhunt, U.S. Marshals, working with Costa Rican authorities, tracked Armstrong to Don John's surf hostel. The arrest footage shows officers approaching her in the hostel's common area. Armstrong initially denied knowing why she was being arrested, but after officers searched her belongings, they found her sister's passport, a receipt for plastic surgery, and a significant amount of cash. She was arrested. The footage appears showing her peeing herself while realizing she's going back to the U.S. She was detained and held in Costa Rican custody for deportation. Just days later, she was extradited back to the United States to face murder charges. During her custody, she had to have a medical visit. She tried to escape and ran away, but was quickly catched by the officer who accompanied her. After more than a year of legal battles, KAITLIN Armstrong's murder trial began on November 1, 2023, in Travis County District Court, Texas. The case had drawn national attention, not just because of the brutal nature of the crime, but also because of Armstrong's escape to Costa Rica and her attempt to change her appearance with plastic surgery. She walked into the courtroom wearing a dark suit, sitting quietly beside her lawyers. Throughout the trial, she mostly showed little emotion, though at times she seemed tense.
13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
That's good, KAITLIN. Keep that up.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Her brain is leaching. Her brain.
Okay, KAITLIN, I understand that, but keep going.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
One of the most emotional moments of the trial was when prosecutors played the 911 call made by KAITLIN Cash, the friend who found Moriah Wilson's body. The courtroom listened as KAITLIN, frantic and in shock, described Moriah's injuries and counted out loud while trying to perform CPR under the dispatcher's instructions.
Austin Police!
Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
It almost looked like she had been the victim of the beating. There was clearly blood in and around her head.
There's a shell casing right here next to my right knee. There's another one right here. We got 3 shell casings.
Over medication.
At least. Alright, pause just a second, buddy. Yeah, headshot. Nobody heard any shots? We don't know how long she's been down? No.
After the 911 call, prosecutors showed body cam footage from the first officers on the scene. The video captured police entering the apartment, discovering Moriah's lifeless body in the bathroom, and blood pooling on the floor. Forensic markers pointed to 3 spent bullet casings, proving that Moriah had been shot at close range. Colin Strickland, the last person to see Moriah alive, was called as a key witness. Under questioning, he admitted he had a past romantic relationship with Moriah. He hid his ongoing contact with Moriah from KAITLIN. He bought the 9mm Sig Sauer P365, the same type of gun linked to the murder. During cross-examination, Armstrong's lawyers attacked Colin's credibility, focusing on how he lied to both women and changed Moriah's name in his phone to Christina Alaska to hide their messages. The defense argued that his deception played a role in Armstrong's emotional state, but the prosecution made it clear: jealousy does not justify murder. A former friend of Armstrong, Jacqueline Chastain, delivered some of the most chilling testimony. She recalled a conversation from January 2022, months before the murder, when Armstrong expressed her deep hatred for Moriah. She said, "I wanted to kill her. I told her she didn't mean that. But she looked at me and said, no, I really wanted to kill her." This statement was critical evidence of premeditation, proving that Armstrong's jealousy and anger had been building long before the night of the murder. Forensic experts confirmed that. The bullet casings found at the scene matched the 9mm Sig Sauer P365 that Colin had given to Armstrong. The bullets were 9mm JAG rounds designed to break apart on impact. Armstrong had previously practiced shooting with this exact type of ammunition. Investigators also showed GPS and surveillance footage from Armstrong's black Jeep Cherokee, which circled Moriah's apartment just before the murder. Drove slowly through the area as if watching the apartment. Left the scene right after the gunshots were heard. This digital footprint placed Armstrong at the crime scene at the time of the murder.
Does not make sense. Colin changed Moriah Wilson's name in his phone on May 11th. Colin deleted his text exchange with Moriah Wilson on May 11th. What was different about May 11th? Why did he do that on May 11th? He felt he needed an alibi. Why that day? Jealousy. But what about the black Jeep?
Despite all the evidence, Armstrong's lawyers argued that the case was built on circumstantial proof. Her lead attorney, Rick Kofer, claimed that there were no eyewitnesses who saw Armstrong pull the trigger. The murder weapon was never found in Armstrong's possession, and that Colin Strickland's testimony was unreliable because of his dishonesty. The defense tried to suggest alternative theories, but prosecutors shut them down, proving that all the physical, digital, and testimonial evidence pointed directly to Armstrong. After the jury heard all the evidence, Moriah's mother, Karen Wilson, gave a heartbreaking victim impact statement, speaking directly to KAITLIN Armstrong. KAITLIN Cash will do the same right after.
KAITLIN, I want you to know that I fought for Mo with everything I had that night. From the moment that I got home and started doing chest compressions, which was the longest 10 minutes of my entire life, I remember feeling so relieved when the police arrived, that help was finally there. People who really knew what they were doing and who could help me care for her. I fought for her afterwards when I was pulled from my home by police and taken downstairs. I initially refused to go to the police station that night because I didn't want her to be alone. In one of the body cam videos, I say something along the lines of, "I can't leave her. I'm the only one she has here." I couldn't understand why they weren't bringing her downstairs to the ambulance so that they could rush her to the hospital. I asked one of the officers why they weren't bringing her down. And that's when he told me that she unfortunately didn't make it. That was the first moment that night when I realized that there was no coming back from this. I think I had just assumed that as soon as she was taken to a hospital, that she was going to be okay. It never actually crossed my mind in the chaos of that night that she wouldn't be alive, that she would die, that she was already dead when I arrived home. I'd asked the detective over and over again the previous night when and how they were going to notify Mo's family. For what felt like an eternity the next morning, I waited for her mom and dad to call me. Finally, Karen called me, and it was the hardest phone call of my life. She was wailing, screaming. She wasn't speaking words at first. It was raw and guttural. It was the vocalization of grief. Her world had stopped. She was confused and in disbelief. She kept saying over and over again, "Who would ever want to hurt my baby?" Her mom asked me if I thought she had been raped. I told her no. She asked me if I thought it was quick. And I said yes, I thought it was quick, even though I didn't know. At no point in my life did I think I would ever have to tell someone's mother that I thought their daughter's death was quick. Your actions caused that pain.
Armstrong. I'm not sure if my words can penetrate your heart, but I'm gonna try. I hate what you did to my beautiful daughter. It was very selfish and cowardly, that violent act on May 11th. It was cowardly because you never chose to face her woman to woman in a civil conversation. She would have listened. She was an amazing listener. She would have cared about your feelings. She was a caring, empathetic person. If you allowed yourself to actually know her, you never, ever would have wanted to hurt her. Moriah, in the heart, you shot me in my heart. You shot Eric and Matt in their hearts. You shot Moriah's cousins and aunts and uncles and all the people who loved her. Pierced their hearts.
On November 17th, 2023, after less than 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found KAITLIN Armstrong guilty of first-degree murder in the shooting of Moriah Wilson. She was sentenced to 90 years in prison, with no chance of parole for the first 30 years. The punishment reflected both the seriousness of the crime and her efforts to escape justice. While Armstrong was convicted, the case also ruined Colin Strickland's career. Before the trial, Strickland had been one of the biggest names in gravel racing, a well-known athlete with major sponsors. But when details about his love triangle, dishonesty, and secret relationship with Moriah became public, his reputation fell apart. Sponsors like Specialized, Onve Composites, and Rafa quickly cut ties with him. He has since disappeared from professional cycling, avoiding races and the media. His name is now forever connected to Moriah Wilson's murder, and his once promising career is over. Now, with her conviction final, KAITLIN Armstrong is serving her 90-year sentence in a Texas prison. KAITLIN now resides in one of the 2 down-left buildings, the Murray unit made for inmates found guilty of violent crimes. She won't be eligible for parole until 2053, when she will be 66 years old. Until then, she will spend decades behind bars. Because she tried to escape custody when she ran from officers during a medical visit, she will likely be treated as a high-risk inmate with strict supervision and fewer privileges. In the months after her murder, the Moriah Wilson Fund was created to help young athletes and support inclusivity in cycling. Through this, her loved ones hope to keep her legacy alive and make cycling a sport that is welcoming for everyone. Anna Moriah Wilson's story will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you appreciated this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth true crime stories. And I'll see you soon for the next video. Stay safe.